getting negative cash flow, cash flow negative. And I don't even know if that's a real term, to be honest with you. I've just heard it thrown around the investment circles, and basically they're in the red. They actually have to come up out of pocket with their own monies to cover the deficit from the rental rate. And some of these people have it in their head that the best thing that they can do is buy the property at retail, put a tenant in there like we've seen in California and Las Vegas, and hope the property appreciates to the point that they're going to have great profits. And folks, that's speculating. That is not investing, and speculators typically get burnt, and you're buying based on emotion, and emotion equals cost. All right, that is not a logical way to invest. Now, if you've done that, and I have also made the mistake of doing that as well, so I know it firsthand, okay? I'm not trying to turn out and slap anybody on the wrist here, but if you've done that, then recognize that this is one of the two recommended ways for me to get out of that property and turn around and sell it. One other point. When you're renting property, the law is on the side of the tenant, not typically the landlord. Therefore, what we've seen in the past are tenants that do not make payments on their property, make their rent on time. It can take them 3, 6 to 12 months to get them legally evicted. And all that time they're living in your property rent-free. And when they leave that property, they're going to leave that exit that property. They're not going to go quietly into the night, is the saying, I believe. And you're likely to sustain more damages because of the poor relationship a poor outcome of that relationship. And that's not a win-win whatsoever. So you're going to be on the hook for those costs. What I like to do is ensure that the law is on my side as the investor owner as much and as often as possible. And the way to do that is by owner financing real estate, because I become the lender, and therefore I can foreclose on the person who I've sold the property to and get them evicted, if you'd like to call it that, out of my property quickly. And also there's a lot of negative effects with that. It's going to hurt their credit score. So there's more of a deterrent for that person in not making payments to me than there would be if they were in a rental relationship. And you know what? There's a lot of professional tenants out there that screw landlords left, right, and center. It can be a very great way to build your business if you're getting to multi-cash flow properties. And I'm not trying to scare anybody off from renting. However, but if you do it in single family and condos, it is very, very scary indeed. And I am indeed trying to scare the frigging wits out of you. So many of you are likely in the situation that you have a tenant in there and you are now recognizing that it was not a great strategy to buy a single family property or a condominium and rent that to generate cash flow and create wealth in 10 or 15 or 20 years. And there's a lot more, there's other ways out there, like we've covered in the 7-figure profit system, that can accelerate your path to riches and then becoming wealthy in a much, much shorter period of time. So I'm going to cover this residential lease with the option and purchase agreement, because if you do not want to own or finance the property and offer that as a strategy, and I would offer both of these strategies to my tenant if I was in that situation, then you can just go with the residential lease with option of purchase. And basically it's a rent to own. It means the exact same thing. And let's take you through it right now. This agreement, dated, is binding between landlord seller, that will be you, and the tenant buyer. Now, in the languaging that I've placed in this contract, it's very important, because when you are selling a property to somebody, they have the dream of home ownership, and when they take, typically the person that takes the property under their own title, takes title to the property, and they now own it, they're going to treat it much better than they would if they were a rental tenant, and they've got pride of ownership.